All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris, and this is my channel, Bar911-970. As always, I thank you for listening to my channel and thinking of me as a potential voice of reason, and welcome you, one and all. Now, this is a topic that can be very touchy, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat, this is not fear porn. This is not going to be one of those videos that's going to scare you so you can get, you know, a fear in your heart, so you'll buy lots of things to protect yourself, and you'll go out there with the wrong idea. But as you can see, there are FEMA camps around. Now, you will see plenty of people talking about the fact that FEMA camps are designed to enslave the people, and they're going to get military to come and take you away, and all that wonderful fear porn stuff, that wonderful story that, in my heart, I do not believe is true at all. But there is a purpose behind the FEMA camps, and the people that will be in them, if these things come to fruition, because obviously it doesn't matter how much you tell people the system is rigged and try and save it before it happens, people just don't want to believe it. They're going to believe in the very people that oppress them, and they're going to be oppressed yet again and even further. And if there is a problem, they're going to rely on the very criminals who started the problem to save them. So, are there FEMA camps? Well, as you could see on these checkpoints on the picture, there are plenty. What they're there for, I can't honestly say because I don't work for the government. But I will tell you this much. If there are truly FEMA camps, and there could be, and they could be for honest reasons to help people, the people that end up in them are not who you think, and they won't go there in the way that you've been told. Basically, they tell you, oh, one day they'll call martial law and they'll have nuclear wars and all that wonderful fear porn stuff, and they'll say they'll just pick you up out of your house or off the streets and just drag you there via gunpoint. That's not what's going to happen. This is one of the reasons why I tell people to stock up on food and water and become very independent and self-reliant. Because what will happen is, and this is only in an extreme case, where there is a major problem in the entire country or the entire world. And there's a lot of news media and a lot of people trying to set up things that could potentially happen. Now, in this world, anything can happen, so anything is possible. In an infinite universe, there's infinite possibilities. So, a certain road can only be traveled if you continue to travel it. You can change course at any time, but it looks like the average person out there wants to stick on this one particular road and not change it because they believe it's the only road that that exists, that you're destined to go down that road. And that will make that truth a possibility because you're believing in it, you're putting your energy into it. So as of now, the energy that the average person has is we're heading towards something bad. Not because they want it, it's because they feel like they have no choice, or they have no power, they have no control. So they're allowing the actual thing to happen. I mean, prime example, if you have a baseball in your hand, and if you know the future of that ball, if you drop it, you know if you let go, it's going to fall to the floor. Well, that's the ball's destiny. If you let it go, the destiny is that it will fall to the ground. Well, if you let go of the ball and you don't do anything, that's exactly what happens. So you allow that particular road to happen. But if you catch it in midair, you stop it from the inevitable. So that's why people like me and others have tried so hard to try and tell people what's going on, and they refuse to see the writing on the wall. So what's happening is you're allowing possibilities like these FEMA camps to become a potential reality because you're afraid that you don't believe you have change. But when I talk about FEMA camps, they're not going to, even if there's an extreme situation where there's a complete collapse or there's a war or there's martial law or whatever happens, they're not going to pull anybody in by gunpoint. They are going to have people waiting in line like it was an iPhone 23 to get in there voluntarily, probably wanting to trample over other people to be first in line. Now, why is that? Well, like I've said for the longest time, and I've been saying this for years, it is better to be 5 years too early than 5 seconds too late when it comes to preparing for any scenario. And it doesn't have to be a world-ending scenario, but if, for example, if something as simple as power outage for a week happens, it could be world-ending for you. So that's not fear, it's reality. We all prepare for things. There's a reason why in the wintertime we wear lots of clothing. We don't do it because we're scared, or maybe we're scared in the sense of, well, if you go outside naked and it's freezing out, you might die. Well, it's smart to be acknowledging that fear because you can use that to prevent something from happening. People assume when you mention fear, it's not supposed to be said because you don't want to ruin somebody's day. Instead of saying, well, if you understand the fear and you face it and overcome it, you can create beautiful or good or safe things from it. But people are always like, oh, I don't want to hear it. That's too scary. You're creating fear. Not all fear is bad. But when I talk about things like fear porn, like Alex Jones and others that talk about, oh, there's going to be a nuclear war and everybody's going to die and the aliens are going to come from the sky and they're going to kidnap you all and rape you and all this other stuff, and when it's constant fear, that's bad. But just because the reality is bad, because it's a choice we choose to want to be, well, ignoring it does not make it go away. Hit a hornet's nest and then sit there and meditate and pretend that the bees don't exist and see how much that helps you when they all come out of that nest and start stinging you, probably to death. The idea is to be smart and utilize negativity for a way to stop it from happening. If you had a crystal ball that said, tomorrow if you go swimming, you're going to be eaten by a shark, that's scary, that's negative. You may not want to hear it, but if you know that if you go tomorrow into the ocean, you'll be eaten by a shark, and you decide, well, I'm not going to go into the ocean, well, guess what? That negative thing that you were presented won't happen. So aren't you glad you knew it in advance? Because just imagine if nobody told you and you thought the day was great and you're going to go with your family, just have a wonderful day on the beach, and next thing you know, you go in there for a swim and you're eaten by a shark. So isn't it good to have the advance notice so you can change it? So when people like me and others talk about how the system is rigged and how corrupt governments throughout history have always oppressed the people, and we tend to fight amongst ourselves instead of the very oppressors who create the problems, we are allowing evil to thrive and continue on a path. And some people will even use a religious text and say, well, this is destiny. This is fate. This can't be changed. That is so untrue. It only becomes true when you believe that you cannot change it, so you won't. That's why they scare you to death. So why do I say about FEMA camps? Because, well, if there is that kind of situation, and because people don't really want to do anything about it, it's a possibility, well, they're not going to have to need to put anybody in there via gunpoint. Because what'll happen? If there's a need for FEMA camps, that means there is some kind of collapse of the economy, or there is some kind of war, or some kind of natural, quote-unquote, disaster. And since the average person probably has maybe a couple of days' worth of food, maybe a week's worth of food, maybe a couple of days' worth of water, has a little bit in their bank account, and if all of a sudden things are shut down or you no longer have your place to live in, you're gonna be online hoping it's a lottery to get in there voluntarily. And what if they say, well, if you want to be in our FEMA camps, we'll give you food, we'll give you water, we'll give you shelter, we'll protect you from whatever's happening, but you got to work for us. You got to do what we say. You know how many people are going to go in there voluntarily? Raising their hands, me, pick me. So the whole point of seeing possibilities is to say to yourself, okay, I am presenting myself with a possibility. Do I want that possibility in my life? And if the answer is no, then you do everything in your power to avoid it or change it. So the reality we're going down is there's potential war. Now, there's not going to be a nuclear war. I've said this so many times. Yes, they'll scare you about that. Yes, they'll use that as the trump card, pardon the pun. But if there's an all-out nuclear war, the entire planet gets destroyed. Who wins? So unless the people that are in control want to live underground for the next 3 or 4 centuries, or have a spaceship that could fly away, how is that going to help them? Why do governments work? Because they take advantage of the masses who do all the work for them. If you destroy the very cattle that you're supposed to sell in your cattle ranching market, how do you make any income? Do you think kings and queens and presidents are going to start scooping up the poop? Are going to clean up the messes? They want us to do that for them. So to destroy the very people who do all the things that allow those leaders to be free, truly free, and wealthy based on our labor, it would be quite ironically stupid for them to murder us all. So that whole thing about, oh, they're going to depopulate the population and they're going to murder millions of people, think of it from their point of view. If you are a leader throughout history, you got there because the people supported you. They paid the taxes. They protected you by being soldiers that would keep you safe and alive. They would take other territories for you. They would do all the work. They would chop down the trees. They would build the houses. They would take away the garbage. They would cook the food. They would make the clothing. How stupid would that be if a king decided, you know what, I want to show how powerful I am. I'm going to slaughter every last peasant in my kingdom. Who gets the food then? What army is going to save that king? People don't want to think. They just want to base things on fear and think fear is negative. Fear is only negative if you only see it that way. You ever been on a roller coaster? It's scary, isn't it? But I bet it's fun to most people. You ever wonder why you're afraid of snakes? It's because you want to keep yourself from being bit by one that's potentially poisonous enough to kill you. But people want to see fear like FEMA camps, and they're going to think that they are going to have militaries come into your house, take you away, and drag you kicking and screaming. You are going to volunteer to go. Why? Because you chose to think things like preparing for any kind of situation is crazy, silly, and stupid. And then when a scenario happens to where you need to be taken care of, and they're not there to take care of you, you're going to go in extreme panic mode. Whose fault is that? So I've said it before. I made the predictions. I've said back in November that Hillary Clinton was going to be president based on the fact that they were programming you with all these movies, TV shows, comic books, and all these different things that are showing very strong female characters. They do that for a reason. It's to make you get used to the fact of a woman in powerful, authoritarian situations. This is before they even nominated her as the candidate. I made predictions, and I'll make another prediction right now. I don't think in this current shift that we're in, I don't think there'll even be a debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, because we all know that if there was an actual debate with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump would humiliate and destroy her. You don't think the media and the governments know that? I guarantee you they're going to set up the first debate. They're going to make you think it's going to happen. Everybody's going to sit there drooling, saying, oh, I can't wait to see Trump totally demolish her. And then guess what, ladies and gentlemen? There'll just happen to be, coincidentally enough, either a bad storm or a problem overseas or some kind of problem that will get you to look the other way. And people don't understand how you could take a fearful situation and make it into a choice. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you're driving down a road and you see a sign that says, bridge is out, that could be scary. But how stupid would it be to say, well, I guess this is the only way I can go, so I guess I might as well keep driving. I'll just believe that the sign is lying. I'll believe that the bridge is really still there, and I'll keep driving. What do you think's going to happen to you when you fall off that bridge that is no longer there? Whose fault is it for being that dumb? When you can easily stop and turn around and go another way. Yes, it's inconvenient. Yes, it might take you a little longer. Yes, you may be lost for a little while, but it beats plummeting to your death that you chose to ignore. In an infinite universe, there are infinite possibilities. That is why I don't live in fear. And that is why I am going to be an observer of whatever happens. Because let's put it this way, if Donald Trump becomes president and the government decides, you know what, for the first time in history, we're going to be honest and full of integrity, we're really going to do everything that we say, and it becomes a world utopia across the land, and we're all sitting around holding hands singing la la la, then I'll be glad to be there to watch it. But on the other end, if there's people killing each other all over the place and all of a sudden you can't get gas and the electrics have been shut off and people can't get food and the dollar has crashed and it's that extreme side of the spectrum, I won't have to worry either because I've been prepared for all situations. And this is why I tell people you don't base it on fear, but it's kind of dumb to walk outside in a blizzard naked. The fear of frostbite makes you put on coats or makes you not go out at all. It's to protect you. But people see it as a way that it's negative all the time. And if you want to believe that, then that is your truth. So right now, I've tried very hard, and many people have tried very hard to try and change people's ideals and say, listen, the votes, the quote-unquote votes haven't happened yet. The election hasn't happened yet. The situations that I've warned people about haven't happened yet. If you do nothing to change them, it makes it that much more of a potential. And we don't need a nuclear war for there to be a catastrophe. Anyone remember Hurricane Sandy? How it's still affecting people to this day, years later? That people couldn't get food? They were waiting online, sleeping out overnight just to get whatever gas they could get? And people were selling 5 gallons of gasoline for $500? People seem to think there has to be an extreme situation for bad things to happen. How many elderly people or people on medication or people that are on welfare and wait for their paychecks or their welfare checks, all of a sudden, if there's a power outage, just a simple storm that lasts for a week and your refrigerator isn't on and you don't have a generator and you didn't store food and it's 90 degrees out to 100 degrees out every day and you don't have the air conditioner because your power's off. You know how many people die in those situations? And if people want to say, oh, I don't want to listen to that, it's scary, then you're not willing to face a reality so you can change it. Negativity is placed in your life, ladies and gentlemen, so you can choose to say, no, thank you. But if you ignore it, then it happens. And I use the train analogy all the time. If you lay on a train track, you're dumb enough to do that. I don't care how comfortable it is. You could sit there and sing Kumbaya. You could sit there and meditate. You could sit there and pray. You could sit there and say, I don't believe a train's coming. You're still going to be hit by the train. All you have to do is get up off the tracks, and there's no longer a problem. Just imagine somebody, if somebody's laying on the tracks, and I go up to them and say, listen, I just want to let you know, if you stay on these tracks, you're going to get run over. And they're like, oh, dude, you're so full of fear porn, and you're trying to be scary, and you're trying to be negative. Why are you ruining my good time? You see me and my friends are drinking beer, having a great time on this train track? It's very comfortable. Why are you trying to ruin my comfort? We're all partying and having fun. Why are you trying to ruin my happiness? And I'd be sitting there dumbfounded. It's like, well, why? Because I don't want to see a fellow human being get run over through their own stupidity. So sit there and all play the bongos, all hug the trees, all pray, all meditate, all say, I don't believe the train is going to hit me. And when you hear the train coming, you say, oh, that's on another track, or it's a different way, or it's not going to hit me because I believe in love and peace and harmony and happiness, and I don't have to do anything. I'll just wish it away. And those will be the last words you ever say. So you're making a bad situation happen because you're ignoring it and not facing it and saying it's a choice. You don't appreciate a good summer until you've had a horrible winter. And the reason why you wear extra clothes or you don't go out in a blizzard is because fear keeps you logically safe. There's a reason why you don't go out with honey dripped all over you in the middle of a woods where there are known bear activity, because you'll be eaten alive. So fear can be good if you see it that way. So if you want to believe that the FEMA camps, if there are any, and you could see they're potentially there, what they're there for, I guess we'll find out, because people don't want to change anything. If you think that the government is going to take the very people that they could tax and do all the work for them so they can sit around and play golf and, do all these things on television, become very famous and very wealthy, if they think they're going to kill or murder all of the people, so now they have to do everything themselves, congratulations. You're a fear porn lover, and you're addicted to fear porn. You can control anything, but most people don't want to do that, because that's what freedom is. Freedom is responsibility. responsibility for yourself, for your own well-being, for your own ability to control the fact that because you're a human being with the potential of being as evil as anything you want, you choose not to because it's not right. There's a reason why I've never been to jail. There's a reason why I am not being convicted for a crime, or I have not ever been chased down by a bounty hunter for murder. Why? Because I don't do those things. It's choice. You have the capability of being the best human being in the world, or the most evil person in the world, or somewhere in between. It's what you decide. If you decide to do nothing, is it any wonder why nothing is changing? Do people really want freedom? And you know what? I bet you this video is going to get more views than any video this past week. Why? Because it has FEMA camps in it. And who's it really for? And they'll, oh wait, fear? Something scary? I think I'll pay attention to that. Alright, so Real LAWFUL, I like that, says, what are some good steps for someone new to prepping? Well, you have plenty of time. I don't think anything's going to happen majorly until maybe a year after the election. There will be some distractions along the way, but I don't think they're ready for a collapse of the economy yet. I mean, people are so like, oh, that'll never happen. Look throughout history. It's happened several thousand times. Did you know that the sterling was the world currency for 200, 300, 400 years? And there were many currencies that were the world currency? They're not there anymore. It's because things change. If you think the dollar is forever going to be the world currency, then you are sadly mistaken. That's one of the reasons why we're hating on Russia so much. It's one of the reasons why we called Gaddafi and we called Hussein terrorists. Because they wanted to no longer participate in the US dollar scam, and they wanted to make their own gold-backed currencies, which would affect the US dominance of the world currency known as the dollar. So they called them traitors, and everybody believed it, and they murdered them, and guess what? Now they're using the dollar still. People don't know what they don't want to research, and it's their own fault. So if you want to prepare for things, go buy canned food. Go buy bottled water and put the bottles in glass as much as you can, because plastic leaks toxins. Get yourself some gold and silver bullion. It is not to make you rich. I've said this so many thousand times that the idiot trolls that don't understand it because they just want to point out that gold isn't $5,000 an ounce yet, that it's for insurance purposes. And just be self-reliant. Stop trusting in the government. Stop thinking you're going to place your vote in a corrupt system and they are going to tabulate it honestly and they're going to give you the best person that's there to help the people. If that was the case, why hasn't it happened yet? How many presidents do we have to go through until we get to that utopia? They'll promise you everything in the world. They've been promising things like solar paneled energy and alternative forms of energy since World War II. You telling me they haven't come up with it yet? Or maybe it's they don't want to come up with it because then corporations like the electric company and the oil industry would lose billions of dollars, wouldn't they? You think they want that to happen? All they have to do is give a politician a couple of grand. I mean, look at the Clinton Foundation. They only had to give her anywhere from $100,000 to a couple of $1 million to have whatever agenda they wanted pass through, and they did it through a donation charitable event. The WikiLeaks proved that. Are you telling me from the time they created that till now, not one politician knew what was going on? Do you think that's the only people, the Clinton Foundation were the only ones to do it? Come on. If you choose to not change destiny, destiny happens the way it is written. If you think a book or a prophecy or a prediction or anything is going to happen, you don't do anything to change it, making it true. Again, take a baseball or put anything in your hand, hover it over the ground. The truth of that is, the destiny of that object is when you let it go, it will fall to the ground. If you do nothing to change that, then it becomes true. But you can change it by catching it. So you can change the inevitable through your action. It's your inaction that makes things continue on the path that they're at. So if you think there's going to be a war Well, do everything that you can to keep it from happening. Why are we allowing the people in power all around the world to continually mislead us? How much does it take for you to get it? I don't understand it. But, again, I'm not going to make this video long. If you want to leave comments, please, you can. Do what you want, including doing nothing. Evil thrives when good people do nothing. So if you want to keep ignoring people like me because, I'm not telling you what you want to hear, because I'm telling you it requires work. I'm telling you it requires self-reliance. I'm telling you get rid of your credit cards. I'm telling you stop your bank accounts. Open up a federal credit union. I'm telling you to get food and water to prepare for things just in case of something as simple as a power outage. And stop looking at fear as something that's educational. Fear is something that teaches you what you do not want. If you ignore it, it doesn't go away. It goes away when you decide, oh, I don't want that. And you stop doing something that leads you to that path. Again, I could have God himself tell me that, Chris, if you go to the beach tomorrow, you will be eaten by a shark. Well, if I don't go to the beach, I won't be eaten by a shark tomorrow, will I? So I'll be appreciative of the scary message that was presented for me. I don't say, oh, I don't want to hear it. Or, oh, I have control. It's because you won't do anything. If you go and say, oh, you know what, God, I'm going to show you, F you. I'm going to the beach and prove to you you're wrong because I'm in control of my life. And you go swimming and you get eaten by a shark. How stupid were you for not listening? So that's the length of the video. If you want to believe that soldiers are going to take you and kidnap you and bring you into a FEMA camp, if that makes you sleep better at night or whatever it does to you, if it gets you off or gets you excited, that's fine. People will be standing in line begging to be in there, fighting each other to get the last spot. Because why? You were not smart enough to prepare for what was coming, and now you have no choice. Keep going down the path of doing nothing. You still have time. That's the beautiful part. You could go, and don't base it on fear. Base it on being prepared. No one buys car insurance for fear they're going to get into an accident every day. You're not sitting there every time you drive saying, oh my God, is today the day I'm going to get into an accident? I don't know. No, you have the comfort of knowing that if you do get into an accident, and you may never get into one, but it is a possibility that if you do get into one, your insurance company will hopefully help you out. That's all it is. So, if I never utilize my gold and silver, that means we haven't had an economy collapse. That's a good thing. But if it does, and your dollars are no longer worth what they once were, and having physical gold and silver will protect you at that time, those trolls that insulted me and laughed at me and mocked me all those years are going to be ones standing online for that FEMA camp begging to get in because they no longer have any food or water, because all the dollars, the fiat currency they got paid for to sell out their fellow men and women and become traders for their little quick profit, now have thousands of pieces of toilet paper. The laugh's on them, and that's why they say, he who laughs last laughs best. And I'm going to leave it at that. So if you want to subscribe to my channel, please do. If you want to leave a comment, please do. If you want to hit like or unlike or dislike, whatever, please do. Share it to get this information out and realize that you have the control to do everything, including nothing. But if you do nothing, don't be surprised that you're helping the evil people continue their plans because you were too scared to do anything about it. That's on you. Sorry, it's not what you want to hear. Go to Alex Jones. Go to PewDiePie. Go to all these different places that'll tell you everything that you want to hear so you'll sleep better at night. Hopefully that will last forever. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered.